Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to some Division 2. And in today's video, which is happening mere seconds after the Lady Death Exotic submachine gun review, today I'm going to come at you with some more information, son. And I'm going to teach you builds. Yes, I'm going to teach you builds under 2.0. Now, for those of you who are seasoned builders who know how to build, maybe this will give you a little bit of extra information you didn't know. But for people who are new and just getting on Division, or are just now getting on Division, and you know, whatever your case is, something about this video should be informational to you, hopefully, because the point of this is we are in Blacks and B teaching mode right now. So right now we're gonna get into it. Alright guys, so let's get into it. When making a build on Gear 2.0, there is one main overlapping umbrella that you want to look out. I said look out. I can't even look out the window because my curtains is blind, and I can't do my outro because it's the beginning of the video. But anyway, we getting off on a tangent. Let's get back on track like I'm a train. Now let's get moving to the next stop. So with Gear 2.0, like I said, the overlapping thing you want to look at is, what is your role? What do you want your role to be? Now, the three roles are you the skill guy? Are you the damage dealer? Or are you the armor, the tank? You know, the dude that everybody shoots at. So, for this first episode, since clearly we've already got that type of build going on, which is the red, which is damage, this part we're going to talk about damage builds. Now, for damage, what would encompass a damage build? Now, this stuff you want to look at, you know, just, you know, the damage of the weapon, like the base damage, you know, not how much damage it deals per second, but you know, that comes into it as well. DPS, all that stuff that has to deal with obviously damage. So, alright, what we're gonna look at in this vid is some pieces of pieces of armor that you know, things you want to look for with damage. So to help us out, we're gonna use the trusty, extra trusty, so trustworthy you won't need to have a second thought, recalibration station. More specifically, the library. So now let's get to it. With each piece of gear, you have core attributes, and then you have your regular attributes. And I covered this in my Gear 2.0 system video. Don't worry, I'm going to leave the link to it in the description. So don't worry about that. So here we go. You have a core, which is either weapon damage, skill tier, or armor. But for this video, we're going to look at weapon damage. And then same thing here. So your damage traits that you're going to want to be looking out for whenever you're farming pieces of gear is, depending on what specific part of damage you're looking for, that's the one you want to go for. So you've got weapon handling, which is, you know, basically how fast you can aim with the gun. You know, it adds a slight reload speed thing to it, slightly. But yeah, that's basically what weapon handling is, like, you know, reloading, fast aiming, how fast you can ADS. Next you have critical hit chance, which is that basically as you're shooting, there's a chance for you to score a critical hit. Submachine guns are really good if you're looking for this one, and critical hit damage in particular, because Submachine guns do have a secondary trait of critical hit chance. So yeah, this is one thing you want to look for. At level 40, the max roll is 6%, as you can see. As far as damage goes, critical hit damage, the max you can roll for at level 40, from level 31 to 40 is 12%. Next, you have headshot damage. Now this is going to come into play if you want to have like a sniper damage build. You know, this is going to really help you out. So yeah, that's basically the 4 things you're going to want to look at in terms of making like a really good damage build. And of course you want to have the max roll. As you can see, everything here is maxed out, but you want to have 15% damage on most pieces of your gear, because you know you can always throw in, you know, some armor on like 2 pieces, 1 piece, whatever your call is. So when we're looking at damage, of course, weapons are always going to have some sort of damage thing on them, but usually as a tip, I feel like assault rifles will tend to be the better choice, because not only do they have, of course, every weapon has their own, you know, class damage, obviously, as a core attribute, but for the secondary damage of assault rifles is health damage. And as you can see, if I just extract something, I can max it out, but I'll do that later. And another reason why is if you can get an assault rifle with damage to health and damage to armor, that is, I would say, just perfect. But of course, you can have one with critical hit chance. It's pretty much the same for these attributes are pretty much the same for all weapons, other than, like, you know, their core attributes. Each one has a different secondary core attribute. So for example, submachine guns, they have the critical hit chance as a secondary. LMGs, damage to target out of cover, they have that secondary, and so on and so forth, as you can see. So yeah, that's pretty much the things you want to look out for when it comes to damage. Now that we have the attributes you want to look for, we're going to talk about pieces of gear that you want to look for. So here, as you can see, will be it's all damage pretty much here, all damage. The only thing is that the Gila Guards, those usually roll with an armor core attribute, but I changed it and re-rolled it for a weapon damage just so I can get that armor, but that's not what this video is about. That will be towards the end of the series with builds. So here would be some pieces to look at depending on what type of weapon you want to focus on. That's another thing. So let me back it up. Another thing is, what weapons are you going to be using? Set up, make a mental note of what weapons do you really want to be using, and that will determine what pieces you would want to use. So here's a prime example. On this build, I'm running an exotic SMG, or any SMG would do. So one piece of gear, one gear brand set to look at would be, well, actually the best piece to look at would be the Sokolov Concern. And basically with this gear set, when you have 3 pieces, you get the SMG damage, which is if you have 1 piece. Next is critical hit damage, and then critical hit chance, which is really, really, really good if you're going for that critical damage build, or SMG damage build. But of course you can mix and match. So maybe if you wanted to go for something with explosives, with some headshot damage, some pieces to look at will be the Grupo, which is new in the New York DLC. So you will have to have the New York DLC to get it, I believe. Another uh, damage piece to look at will be the whatever that company, Seska Viroba, that's what I'm calling it, Seska Viroba, where if you want that critical hit chance. Also, another good damage piece to look at would be, like Badger Tough with that shotgun damage. Of course, your striker gear set to help with, DPS. If you're going for DPS builds. Ongoing directive if you want to have, that extra reload speed and of course keep up with that DPS. You can pair this, like 3 pieces of this with like 3 pieces of striker. So you get that fire rate and you get that extra reload speed. So you could pretty much put constant fire on enemies. Do I have any? Okay, here's another one, Petrov, for LMGs. LMGs usually have pretty high damage, and pair that with their high magazine sizes. Typically, you can see this is a really good way to put damage, like a lot of damage on enemies, if that's what you're going for. Like I said, it's all up to you. Pick which weapon you want to focus on. These are just pieces, to be looking out for. Do I have any Fenris? Okay, so I don't have any Fenris, so we're gonna go to our crafting station. So, okay, here's another good one. Providence Defense. For those of you who want to go for sniper builds, as you can see, you get the headshot damage. If you look here on the right side of the screen, where it says brand set, you get that headshot damage, that critical hit chance, and that critical hit damage. So this is for, if you want to stack, that headshot damage, just get as much, headshot damage as you want, because as a sniper, you want to go for the head. I mean, you can always go for another part of the body to be safe, but all about stacking that headshot damage and trying to get that one hit kill. But of course, the critical hit chance and damage is always good because of, if you have a sub paired with that sniper. Now, if I can find it, here we go. Here's another one, Overlord Armaments, where you get accuracy and weapon handling as well as rifle damage. So if you want to, go for something that's a little in between assault rifles and, you want something that could get really good damage on a headshot and potentially one-shot kill, but also you could also get that DPS out of it as well. Since most of them are single shooters in terms of rifles, other than the M16, which is burst, so that will be a really good option to go with. So, as you can see, 10% rifle damage, accuracy especially, because you want to make sure that your shots are actually hitting what the hell you're aiming at. And then we have the Fenris. Here we go. Fenris also tends to be really good, because look at the attributes that it's giving you. You're getting 10% assault rifle damage, plus reload speed and stability, which stability basically reduces recoil, like your gun won't jump as much. And then you have your Araldi, which is one of the prime pieces for sniper damage builds, because it gives you 10% marksman rifle, which are sniper rifles basically in this game, 10% headshot damage, and you get 5% damage to armor. So if you're going up against, the hyena rushers who have the helmets, pretty much any pretty much that enemy and any enemy. The True Sun's heavy weapons specialist has armor on too on his head, and you know, just those type of enemies and any tank class enemies that you're gonna be going up against. Shotgun damage for Badger Tough. This tends to pair good with any damage to armor. If you want to go for damage to armor, because shotguns do have a secondary core attribute of damage to armor. So that's, you know, you can see the synergy on that. So those are pretty much pieces to look at. Now next, after pieces, you're gonna look at talents. Now these talents will enhance your damage dealing abilities. I said that while cheesy. Abilities. So, like I said in the core in my Gear 2.0 video, this is explained. Body armor and book bags are the only two pieces that you will have that have talents. So now we're going to go over some damage talents. So, in terms of damage talents, the damage talents that you are gonna want to look at actually is Spark. Spark is kind of weird, but you want to look at Glass Cannon, Focus, Gunslinger. I feel like Gunslinger is not really. It's meh to me, because I feel like 5 seconds is, I mean, it's 20% weapon damage, but I feel like 5 seconds isn't really. I feel like 10 would have been better. But anyway, it still should, you know, do work for you if you decide to use it. So these three talents right here are the main damage ones that you're going to want to look at. Spark is cool because if you launch a skill and you damage an enemy, it doesn't matter how low that damage is, you're going to get 15% total weapon damage for 15 seconds. So it's 4 that you would look at. So we're going to start with Spark. So damaging enemies with a skill increases total weapon damage by 15% for 15 seconds. So if you can have like a drone out or any damage dealing skill, you're gonna get that 15% weapon damage. Next up is Focus. So the next one is Focus, which is for snipers. Increases total weapon damage by 5% every second you are scoped. Every second you are aiming while scoped. So basically, for each second that you're, you know, scoped in on your sniper rifle or your marksman rifle, it's sniper rifle, so I'm gonna just say that. Oh, fucking marksman rifle, whatever. That you're scoped in. Now you're gonna gain 5% every second, up to 50%. So you're gonna have, so in a typical situation, you're gonna have whatever headshot damage you have rolled on your marksman rifle, in addition to, you know, that critical hit damage, in addition to, if you get it to 50% or however long you wait while you're scoped, all that damage is getting combined into one shot, and then you just let it rip on whoever's unfortunately in your view. But it requires a scope with 8 times magnification or higher. So basically this will be like your for the sharpshooter has like this special scope for rifles. If you spec into rifles, a special scope that's higher than 8 times. The regular scope that comes on a marksman rifle, which the attachment is just going to be on there, you'll know when you see it, but I'll show you. So yeah, this is good for the talent you want to go for if you're sniping. Spark is more of like a weird gray area where if you're going into like damage skill middle area. Next up, Gunslinger. Weapon swapping increases total weapon damage by 20% for 5 seconds. This buff is lost for 5 seconds if you weapon swap while it's active. So basically, whenever you swap weapons, you're going to get 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. However, if you swap within that 5 seconds, you're going to lose the buff completely. So you'd have to switch back in order to get that buff. And last but not least, this is a really risky damage, but it's along the lines of high risk, high reward, which is Glass Cannon. Basically, all damage you deal is amplified by 25%. So far, I don't think it works with skills, because I haven't seen it work with be added to skills, so that's one thing to keep in mind just as a side. But all damage you take is amplified by 50%. So instead of someone dealing like 500 damage to you, you'll take you'll take 750 damage instead. Oh no, pause. Oh, I'm retarded. No, yeah, I am correct. Sorry, my math is so off. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm doing this. But yeah, you're gonna take 750 instead. So once again, this is it's all about if you want to take that risk of being absolutely destroyed by the most basic of red guys, which of course are the first to die or the first that you kill in a battle. They're gonna fuck you up, in addition to the purples and the gold bars. So yeah, those are talents that you're gonna wanna look at. So now we're going out of the backpack, since I forgot to mention the backpack talents in the original video, so I'm putting him in now. So as far as damage goes for the backpack talents, the ones you will want to look out for is Wicked, Companion if you're going for, like, you know, if you have skills out or you're going to be playing with people, Composure, Unstoppable Force, Vigilance and Versatile. Now I'm gonna go over each one, starting with, of course, Wicked. So Wicked, basically, whenever you apply a status effect, increases total weapon damage by 18% for 20 seconds. That basically, whenever you apply a status effect, works really good with the firewall, because you could just flame people, and then, you know, once they set on fire, you can pretty much, it'll apply to like all your regular weapons, your 3 other weapons, your pistol and your 2 primaries, and you could just do that and then keep going from there. Also, if you have ongoing directive, you can also this has really good synergy with that gear set as well, with the hollow point ammo. Next, Companion. While you are within 5 meters of an ally or skill, total weapon damage is increased by 15%. So basically, the only thing with this one is that you have to stay like really close to like an ally or skill in order for you to like constantly get this weapon. So you practically have to like move together with your team as a unit to get that 15%. Next up is Composure. So while you are in cover, your total weapon damage is increased by weapon damage. So as long as you stay in cover, or you're in some kind of cover, that 15% will be automatically applied. So if you got like a LMG build, this will be really good, because that means you could just stay in cover and then lay down that that damage. So this will be really good for, like, you know, putting down a lot of damage, as far as like from a conservative playstyle standpoint, where you don't really move around and you just prefer to fire from cover. Next up, Unstoppable Force. So killing an enemy increases total weapon damage by 5% for 15 seconds, and it stacks up to 5 times. So that means every time you kill an enemy, your weapon damage will increase by 5%, and that means you'll be able to kill you'll be able to kill 5 enemies, and that means that in total you'll be able to get 25% weapon damage. Now I do believe that this does refresh each time you get a kill, even though it doesn't say it, but leave a comment, let me know, and you know I can make like an edited video and put all that in. Next up is Versatile, my bad, since Versatile was right above it. Amplifies total weapon damage for 10 seconds when swapping between your primary and secondary if they are different. So this is kind of like for the chest piece, how you had Gunslinger. This is kind of the same idea, but a little better and with some more requirements. So yeah, so now we're gonna go down. 35%. You get 35% damage to enemies within 15 meters if you have a shotgun and a submachine gun equipped. 35% to enemies further than 25 meters for rifles and marksman rifles, and then for people who are in between that 15 to 25, and if you have an LMG and assault rifle, you get 10% damage. And it says at most once per 5 seconds per weapon type. So that's basically the gonna be the cooldown per weapon. So basically what it's saying is you switch to LMGs after those 10 seconds. That's the 5 seconds. However, the 5 seconds is going to be on cooldown for that weapon. Then if you switch, you get the 10 seconds for your other weapon, and then once that runs out, then you get the 5 seconds per weapon type. But by that time, the 5 seconds for the other weapon is going to be up, so you could just pretty much keep swapping back and forth between your weapons. Last but not least is Vigilance. So basically I could see this working for snipers a little bit more than like you running an assault rifle or sub or LMG. Is Vigilance. Increases total weapon damage by 25%. Taking damage will disable the buff for 4 seconds. So no matter what, as long as you don't get hit, as long as no one bop you in your face with the butt of their gun or try to snipe you or smack you, or in the raid how boomers just be swinging that minigun and don't use it, as long as you don't get hit by none of that, that 25% is always there. No ifs, ands, or buts. It is your right because you have the talent on. No one can take it unless you get hit. Now that will cover it for the backpack talent section. And we're going to go into the mod section. So usually armor will come with like a mod slot. As you can see here, it usually has one mod slot. So for here, as you can see on my Sokolov, I have plus 5.1% to critical hit chance. So if we go to mods, as you can see, they're all split up. If you go to offensive, here are all my offensive mods. These will give you things like critical hit chance, headshot damage, critical hit damage is also one that they give you. Let me go to my stash just to show you. Alright, so here's what I'm talking about. Critical hit damage, headshot damage, basically those base attributes. Really, critical hit is really only critical hit damage and critical hit chance and headshot damage. So those are mods that you're going to want to look out for. And if you do want to change the mod slot, if you go to recalibration, As you can see, you can change the offensive mod. I can't on this because I already recalibrated one piece of it, but you can change the type of mod slot that you want. So if you want that offensive, you could just change it and put that offensive on. And that's, oh, also another thing. Now we're going to go to specializations. Specializations will also help a lot in building up your weapon damage as well. So, wow, okay. I didn't want to change specializations, but anyway, as you can see here in your specialization, you can spec into certain weapon types that you want to give damage to. It's up to 15% increased damage. So whatever damage you already have, this is all in addition to it. But I believe there are some caps that I will get into at the end when I'm done explaining. So as you can see here, you have, you know, your shotgun, your submachine gun, LMG, 15% increased assault rifle, yada yada yada, everything along those lines. Also with specializations, one of these, I haven't seen it with pistols, but one of these pistols or marksman rifles I haven't seen have like any special attachment, but usually one of these three classes on this that I'm going over, they will have a special attachment. So for gunner, you'll have, you know, the special attachment large pouch. For LMGs, for technician, you'll have the laser pointer. For the rifle, for firewall, you get a special grip for the shotgun. But sometimes some of these are interchangeable on different weapons. So like for the example, the technician laser pointer, you could put that on another weapon other than the rifle. For demolitionist, you got the special laser pointer. For the submachine gun, survivalist has a mag for assault rifle, and then sharpshooter has that digital scope I was talking about earlier. It has that. So, you know, each one has a certain special attachment that it gives to a certain class of weapons. So that would also help you on building around a certain type of weapon that you may want to specialize in or use. So, with that being said, I'm going to recap. Basically, when you're building for weapon damage, first, what you want to do is you want to look at what weapons, first of all, what weapons or what style of damage am I going for? Am I going for DPS, which pretty much would encompass the critical hit? That would encompass like critical hit chance and, you know, all that, you know, good stuff, and like damage to armor and whatnot. So you're going to be using like an assault rifle or anything, like going for DPS, submachine guns. Second, are you going to be like, you know, the one-shot damage dealer with like mostly sniper rifles or marksman rifles? Are you going to be, you know, are you going to stack up your headshot damage and you know, your crit damage, so you can get those, you know, those high damage one hit shots? Second, after you've established what style of damage you want to do, next you want to look at your gear pieces. You know, what gear pieces give me what I want? For example, like I said with Sokolov, with the SMG damage and the critical hit damage, or, you know, like the Araldi gear set that gives you, like, you know, the marksman damage and the headshot damage and the damage to armor, I think the last one was. Next is the talents. You know, what talents do I want to enhance that damage even further? Do I want to Do you want to, run focus where, you get that improved damage each second that you're scoped in? Or do you want to run something like, Gunslinger where, I can, get extra weapon damage, switch, get, just, put that damage on, getting that extra damage per shot. Or do you want to run, glass cannon where you're getting that, that real high extra damage bonus that's permanent, but you'll take more damage. After that, you want to look at, mods. Do I want a headshot damage mod? Do I want a critical hit damage mod? You'll go for headshot, like I said, if you want sniper, or you can also go for critical hit damage, which is interchangeable between the sniper and just DPS style builds, and critical hit chance, and also which specialization benefits your playstyle, which one gives you well, specializations are in general because each of them you can spec into whatever weapon type you want. But like I said, those special attachments, if you want to go for a certain specialization to get that special attachment. So yeah, that's it for part 1 of builds. I will see y'all on the next episode, which we will be covering armor builds. Yes, armor. We will be covering armor. Yes, say it with your chest, armor. But unfortunately, this is the end of the video. And remember, rage out and peace out. And speaking of out, I'm out. Later.